So today we have Cathy Kirch. Cathy is an IT process consultant with Allstate Insurance. She's held various positions within the company over the past 25 years, including project manager, systems architect, database engineer, transaction management technician, systems programmer, application programmer, and systems trainer. Very well experienced. Cathy holds many certifications, including ITIL Service Manager and ITIL Expert, and is a member of Allstate's IT Service Management team. She was the recipient of the 2006 ITIL Practitioner of the Year Award, as well as a member of the Project of the Year Award for 2007, and received the 2012 Case Study of the Year. She received her Distinguished Professional in Service Management from the priSM Institute in 2010. And Cathy has presented a few times on Thought Rock Live, so we're very happy to have her back. So I'll now, with that introduction, I'll now turn it over to Cathy. Cathy?
Okay, thank you. Hope everybody's doing good and can hear me okay. So today we're going to talk about priSM, a credential, as opposed to we often talk about the ITIL certifications or various certifications. And I really want to talk to you and talk about what really is priSM. Okay, hang on a second. There we go. Okay, so priSM is a credentialing body that was really launched to demonstrate any individual's experience and their applied knowledge beyond the text, or we like to sometimes say the textbook understanding that you gain from training, certification, and various qualification routes. While those are very valuable and very important, which we totally support, this is about the application of the things that you actually go out and you learn. The mission for priSM is really all about promoting the professional recognition for service management professionals based on your experience, your educational achievements, and your professional activities. What we do is the priSM priSM qualification is at 5 different levels. It's a little bit different than something like the CPA for accounting, where you get to a certain senior level and then you get awarded your CPA. priSM goes through your career and acknowledges those various levels, and I'll walk through each of the levels that exist that have been created to recognize the people that are working in service management. Along with that, like many other qualifications, it does require a continual professional development. In this case, that's very similar to PMI or ASACA. We take into account things like this webinar, your on-the-job experience, as well as your ongoing certifications and qualifications. There is a fee associated to getting your credential, and I'll cover that by the different credentials that exist. But I'm glad to say that it's been reviewed since it first started, and there is reduced pricing. So we looked at it hard and said, you know, what's the right price? priSM is relatively new. It's only on its 3rd year. So that pricing's been reduced. Originally, when priSM was launched, there was also a requirement that said that you needed to be an ITSMF member. Realizing the broad spectrum of service management, that's no longer a requirement. It will qualify you for a discount, but it's not the thing that you have to have in order to get your credential. So let's take a look at those different levels. I'm actually going to start at the right of the screen, and this is actually the level called the student. These are for the folks that are in college, they're studying, they want to go into the service management professional, but at this point, they have no real-life experience. So we acknowledge that and have an actual student level. To obtain that, being a student, is only $35. As you move out and you actually start to become an entry-level professional in the service management space, you can qualify to be an associate. Associate will recognize that you're actually out there, you're working in service management, and that's going to cost $100 to join. As you get more experience and you start to expand your knowledge and the experiences that you've achieved, as well as those certifications, now you can move up to the professional level. This is for experienced service management professionals, people that have been doing the job for a while, and they've got that experience. Finally, as you get to a senior, a very well-experienced, you've got hands-on, you've had your credentials, most likely an ITIL expert, or we acknowledge things like around COVID, like CGET. and you're actually perhaps a leader in the service management space, that credential is called the Distinguished Professional. And then finally is an honorary award. These are our luminaries in the profession and are actually voted in by people who already hold the designation of fellow. And again, it's recognized for making a very significant contribution to our profession or to our body of knowledge. So again, 5 different levels, starting as quickly as a student, moving into that associate, going on to the experience level of a professional, and then to a distinguished professional. And as I said, for those luminaries that we have in our profession, we have the awarded designation of fellow. It's a graduating cost to apply for these, and then a nominal yearly fee to maintain your credential. So who really is it intended for? If you look at these numbers, these are just 2010, 2011. And look at that, 208,000, 224,000. I believe 2012 had well over 250,000 individuals getting their foundations. The numbers going through into the intermediate levels, all the way up through managing across the life cycle. These numbers continue to grow. So it's not good enough just to say, well, I have my ITIL expert designation, or I'm an intermediate for service transition. You got to start to think about the employer. Our certifications, everything we need, or do you become just one of these numbers? Look at your competitors. Look at how many people are out there in our profession. And as an employer, am I really hiring the right person? Am I hiring somebody who's very well versed at testing, or have they actually got some hands-on experience? That's what PRISM is starting to talk to, is understanding our profession is growing. These certifications are very important to us, and we support those. But now it's about how do we really recognize what are you doing with that body of knowledge? How are you applying it? Are you truly working in the industry, or are you collecting certificates on the wall? Talk about the audience for PRISM. There's a lot of different people that get an advantage out of this. Right off the bat, people like myself, an ITSM professional, make me stand out. How am I different than, say, a student in ITSM? And how do I show that work that I've done in my credentials? Also recognizing, though, we have students, we have curriculum available to people in our universities and colleges. And when they come out, what did they really have to support them? Now they can rely on PRISM to get out there and have some recognition, as well as a mentoring program. Also for our universities, it gives them a leg up to help them promote their students and making sure that they understand the right path. What should a student come out of the university with, an understanding and being able to go into the workforce. On a different type of a view, let's think of the employer. If I'm hiring for a position and I have 2 highly skilled candidates in front of me, what can differentiate one from the other? Having their credential, knowing that their background's been validated, their qualifications are sound, they've actually done work in this area and been involved in the community, gives them a leg up for that interview or that employment opportunity. And then again, your customers. This is all about providing services in service management. So let's start putting the profession in the work that we do and make ourselves professionals within IT service management. So what's it for? We go in, and when you apply for your credentials, some of the things that are looked for are your experience. What have you actually done? What kind of knowledge do you hold? What certifications do you have? When did you gain them? What are those qualifications? What kind of professional commitment? Do you belong to any of the professional organizations like HDI or ISACA or ITSMF? And have you been growing yourself in a continual manner, showing that you've got continual professional development CPDs? And again, example, we are a partner with Bright Talk, and you get CPDs for going to webinars, for taking training courses. And then finally, we have a strong code of ethics that we expect people to stand up behind and sign off on that. So it's about how we conduct our business, being at the highest level. So why do you want to be a credential holder? There's a lot of things going on. It's a busy world out there. there's many qualifications. There's so many certifications. We truly grew with ITIL V3, and we have certifications around COVID and PMBOK. And there's many memberships. Do you belong to ITSMF? Do you belong to HDI? Do you belong to the ISACA organization? And how do you really focus that so that you're focused and we understand the path within IT service management that you're going? And truly, are you an ITSM professional or are you a certified individual? It's kind of a comical joke that I've heard along the way is are you certifiable or are you a professional? So if I was the employer, and again I have these two qualified candidates in front of me, do I really have the time to go out and validate all of their credentials? Do I even know how to navigate the various certification bodies to go up and validate real certificates to say that yes, this is authentic, or no, this is a line on a resume? And then also PRISM provides a registry lookup that's available to everybody out on the PRISM homepage. You can see what individuals hold what credentials, and you can go out there and validate that when somebody's going in for employment. So I use it. Again, you're going to get that verification. You're going to get that validation. It's about having demonstrated professionals. Obviously, like I said, we have the code of ethics to sign off on, versus somebody who's highly certified. We want somebody who's trustworthy, we're courteous in the conduct, and most important, you can demonstrate your knowledge and experience in the subject matter that you're working in, and you've actually got that hands-on knowledge, or perhaps you're the student connected with a mentor who's got that knowledge and moving forward. So it becomes really a relevant qualification along with the certifications. Very complementary. You need the certifications, but again, it's not just about taking a test on a particular day and knowing how you were able to get through that. So once somebody goes out and they actually have their credential, how do we know, how does it show up? What do we see? As I mentioned before, there's the global registry with all of the current credential holders. It's got the names. If you look at my email, I have the post-nominal letters. I am a DPSM behind my name, a distinguished professional in service management. We have a logo. I put the logo on my business card as well as on my signature, so that you start to see the actual PRISM recognition there. And of course, we do like our lapel pins. Now, instead of wearing my IT Service Manager pin and my ITIL Expert pin and my half dozen or so intermediate level, I put on that one pin that says I'm a DPSM with the PRISM body, and I have that credential now very visible. There's letterheads, but in reality today I don't often write or print letters. But again, the letters, having it on my business card and the email is really nice to have. It does make you stand out from the other folks that are basically certified at this point. Again, now picture the employer sitting there, and why do they care about this? And this is really an area that this year that we're going to be focusing on and talking to HR bodies and making sure that they're aware to understand the difference between a certification and a credential and how they can go out and have validation rather than trying to validate every certification, even if they even know how to approach that, to start looking at this simple approach of what is the credential lined up to what position level. Is it an entry level, an intermediate, a more advanced, or like a director level or senior level in space? And in this way, we'll also allow them to sort through resumes and start keying off of things like the keyword of PRISM, the DPSM, the professional level, and it becomes a differentiator. The people that I'm interviewing, the people I'm working for, I want that validated experience. I want to know that, yes, they've got the certification, but more important, that they've got the industry experience and that they're a contributor. Again, IT service management is a young profession, as is IT, but we're advancing quickly, and now it's time to really sort of put that professional in where we're at. So this way we can differentiate those candidates coming forward in front of us and what their offerings are. How do I line those up with the positions I have in my organization? And of course, again, that code of ethics and conduct. It's nice to have that seal of approval, so to speak, coming forward. So again, that employer, or if you're a service provider, again, you're looking for a holistic and balanced framework for a combination of the development for your team. We are working with a couple of education providers right now that are about to offer all of their employees, they're going to support their own employees to get their PRISM credential. It's not just for the practitioner in private organizations like myself. The PRISM credential crosses over to our trainers, our vendors. We recognize all aspects of service management. And again, it's that holistic, balanced framework that now, even as an employer, you can offer this as giving back to your employee by sponsoring the opportunity for them to get their PRISM credential. We like to make sure that they can rely on the fact that this is an independent recognition. PRISM is a wholly owned subsidiary of ITSMF. We are a nonprofit organization that's not attached to any vendor or certification body. It is standalone, independent, and we're really there both to motivate and reward the professional to make sure that we can look at your day-to-day work as well as your training. And definitely this really does distinguish you from the resources and your peers. And again, as an employer, you're adding one more thing by offering the PRISM credential and supporting your employees to take this route as a good place to work. So if I'm a student, what am I going to get? I'm busy acquiring my degree. It allows them to make sure that they're lining up to the ITSM skills, that they can go out and actually find a job within the IT space. IT service management, it's those unique services that we provide. Yet on the other hand, if you think of the breadth and the width of what ITSM covers, it really talks about just about every position that exists today supporting IT for the business. We want to make sure those students are coming out with a well-rounded awareness as they enter the profession. This allows them to interact with other professionals in service management across the world. Again, let them stand out from the crowd and get some experience talking about experts who are doing the job already. Give some networking, some mentoring opportunities, and then promote the idea of lifelong learning, which I think most of us, if you're in IT for a short term or been around for a long time, you're not going to stay in IT unless you're committed to lifelong learning at the rate that things change. We like to think that the students with their PRISM credentials as well are going to get a greater placement in employee opportunities. So if I was an education establishment, why do I want to get involved with PRISM and understand it? Again, they're going to gain that they're providing the quality learning and development experiences to their staff, to their students, make sure that they're actively engaging with employers of the ITSM community, making sure that we can get that added value between IT and the business students. We cross over between the both. And then again, to help develop course material. I like to think of it in simple terms, really. These educational establishments, by talking about PRISM and sharing that with their students, is they're advancing the service management body of knowledge. It's allowing a wider experience and reality to the work that we do and bring it to life so it prepares the folks as they get ready to actually go out and start those interviews. So how do you really do this? What's the mystical, magical right of getting your PRISM credential, right? So we have two sorts of individuals. One is you might be new to PRISM, meaning you don't have your credential today, or the other is you're a PRISM credential holder, and you may have some questions about that in itself. So if you're new to PRISM, really the first thing you want to do is navigate. We have a website. You want to learn and sort of feel yourself around how does this website look, where do I find things, and how do I find the application to download. and we'll show a visual of that website here in a second. Also, you want to share internally to where you work to make sure that you spread the word about there's a registry for validation. You take a look yourself. You probably see somebody in the industry you either know, you've perhaps had a Thought Rock webinar with, or you've read some of their materials. Now, if you're already a PRISM credential holder, you're going to go to that same website. And it's multi-purpose. So what you need to do is start tracking your activities. Once you get your credential, I have a very, how do you call it, non-sophisticated way to do it. I have a folder at the corner of my desk, and as I do things, I just jot notes and throw them into the folder. And on my anniversary every year when it's time to renew my credentials, I go through and think, oh, that's right, I presented a Thought Rock webinar, or I went to a conference, or oh, that's right, you know, beginning of the year I was a process manager for change, and then I changed off and started working as a release manager. Those are things that you'll track and you'll submit for that renewal of your credential. At first it sounds like, boy, I have to have a lot of points and a lot of things going on, but when you really slice and dice it, it doesn't take a lot if you're working in this industry to maintain your professional level and turn in those CPDs once a year to show your evidence that you've been active and you are going forward in your learnings. And those learnings come in your day-to-day life. I think we certainly know that people who hold roles such as config manager or change manager or ITSM internal auditor, they're learning every day because this is a space that's forever evolving. And then things like ITSMF events, things that you go to, HDI events. ITSMF, if you sign into the roster, it will be automatically recorded in PRISM. The others, we provide a form that you can bring with you. You get somebody to sign off as proof of your attendance, and you'll get your CPDs. And again, the CPDs are graduated, how many you need each year based on the level of designation you have. And it's really, it sounds a little bit harder than it is. It's pretty straightforward, and you can submit those once a year and keep your credential. If you're an employer, where do you start really? Understand that registry. We have a board of directors that's more than willing to talk to any employer out there to explain how they can use this to get going and understand where they need to go to help them when they interview folks. Look at your internal skills bank. Here where I work, we have a skills bank, and it's quite interesting to compare that with the actual application or the document that's downloadable for those that are recognized by PRISM. For PRISM, some of us actually incorporate that into our development plans, how many CPDs we want a year, making sure that we're going to qualified events. If you're a university or college, again, the way to get started there is reach out to, you can start with myself. We will get you to the right board member to help you understand how you can promote PRISM internally and how in turn we can help you. And then there's that green easy button that I'll show you really how to get to the website and how to step through and start getting your credentials, or once you have them, to maintain it. So here's our portal. We've got a constant feed. You can follow us on Twitter at the PRISM Institute. Along the top, that's really the navigation panel. The little world there will tell you all about PRISM. There's a registry in there, a document, I'm sorry, that talks about how the organization is formed, what's the structure of PRISM, what's the governance. The little folks there above credential holders, that's our national registry, international registry. Everybody who holds a PRISM credential throughout the world rather, will show up here, as well as the level of their designation. Then there's various PRISM documents that you can go into. There will be documents to help you prepare to get your credential in PRISM, how to be assessed, how to actually gather up the information to know what level you're going to go in at. And then there's a place there as well to provide feedback. We have documents around benefits in case you want to take this to your employer to help fund it. And then actually the key thing to get going is applying to PRISM. This is the place that you're going to go into and either apply for the first time, or you'll go in there and actually renew your credential and keep it active. The URL is theprisminstitute.org, and I'm pretty sure it's on my last slide, and if not, we can get that out to everybody. So I encourage you to go out and look around and read the documents that are there. Applying to PRISM, that is that place to start and where you go to renew your credentials. And it looks pretty much like this. You've got 4 vertical columns. One that talks about preparing. You can download our handbook. It'll tell you about the governance structure. It'll tell you the roles. It'll tell you the different levels. It will go through those 5 levels I talked about and the different qualifications in there. When you get ready to become a PRISM credential holder, you start out by really assessing yourself. Where are you? And we have a basic Excel spreadsheet that's called the calculator. And it's as simple as you go in and download this calculator and you say, okay, maybe I have ITIL foundations, and you go down through the list. Perhaps you have a COVID certification. Maybe it's a PMBOK. And it starts talking all the various categories of things that you've done. And going through the calculator for the first time, that's pretty much where you're going to go to understand where you fit in the schema of the 5 different levels to get started. Remember that PRISM is designed to go through the career with you, unlike something like a CPA where you master it all and go in and you're at one level. This is intended to bring you in at the student, associate, or professional level and then follow you along. It also will show track. You can say, you know, and 2 years ago I was at the associate, and now I've moved up to the professional, and you can see that tracking in your resume as well. So you get ready to gather and submit. Basically, we do have a separate application form for students, different than the one for all of the other ones. So just slightly different than how we treat them. Obviously, we're not expecting experience from our students, whereas pretty much everybody else, you're in the professional, and you have been doing something. And then you'll gather that up. You'll gather up your certifications, the numbers with the certifications, proof of that, and you'll basically submit it. And then behind the scenes, there's a strong volunteer team that goes through all that. They validate the accuracy. There is a reference required, and all of this gets validated, confirmed, and then returned to you for moving forward. The right column for feedback, CPD submission form. Let's say that I am an educational trainer. I have the opportunity to put on my website that I can offer X CPDs for foundations, an intermediate, a COVID foundations, or all the various aspects, just like the CPDs you can get from this webinar. You can actually put that on your website. So meet the board. Currently, today, we have a couple of boards in place. We have the International Board, and we do have a board for the Americas. Professional Development Manager, Susan, watches over who we are granting CPDs to and how they are awarded, as well as when folks are renewing, validating what's submitted and if it's accredited. Andre, our Credential Services Committee, has been leading up the mentoring program that's about to be launched, and is really is an exciting thing for people at all levels to get connected with somebody for a period of time and have mentoring on various subjects related to IT service management. And Pat watches over our registration. She receives all of the folks that are submitting to get their CPDs, and has a team behind her to start doing that validation process. It is due to note that currently the PRISM organization is going through a realignment, much like any corporation does year to year when they look at their leaders and says, what is it that our constituents need? How do we grow this business, and how do we make sure that we're meeting the needs of the service management industry? So stay tuned for that. We're going to get similar to many organizations, we're going to get leaner and more organized, and we do have an international board of directors. So again, PRISM is not something that's just in Illinois or the USA. This is an international credentialing body for all of IT service management. So again, everybody that works in IT service management, we often say that it's not for the weak at heart to get involved with service management. And people do a lot of outstanding work, and there's so much more to do as we really grow and make our profession stand out and be more professional. PRISM can help you change that. PRISM, we like to think of it as the means and the way to put the professional in what you do and how you do it, and do that validation and help stand behind you and help things go forward. So that's all the slides that I had. I'd love to hear any questions, comments, any concerns that anybody would have around PRISM or anything you may have heard.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. We'll see if some folks post some questions here. The other thing that we always let people know is if questions come up afterwards or you want to follow up directly with Kathy, obviously we encourage you to do that. If for whatever reason you want to funnel your questions through ThoughtRock, there is the email address up there, info@thoughtrock.com. And again, anything that you want to funnel through us or ask, and we'll make sure that Kathy gets it as well. But also, you're free to go directly to Kathy and ask her some questions, some new content, I'm sure, for a lot of people when it comes to PRISM and the PRISM Institute. And Kathy, sorry, you may have said it. How long have you been involved, in the industry, in ITSM industry, and how long have you been involved with the PRISM Institute?
So, well, I've been in the IT industry for many years. We'll just put that one at that. So I've got that background of being an application developer and then working in engineering. And here at Allstate, we started our ITSM program officially the launch at the end of 2003. So I've been a lot of focus around change and release management, and throughout the years on our education and training for the organization, as well as the overall program. I got my PRISM credential in 2011, and then just after that, actually the position of the president for the PRISM Americas, or the chair, I'm sorry, PRISM Americas came open, and I took on that assignment. I am about to, I don't know if it's retire is the right word. I don't see myself as retiring, but I will be moving out of the chair. My term is about up there, and looking forward to the fact that we are really looking hard at how do we make PRISM valuable, even more valuable to credential holders. We're looking at the vendor community. We're looking at HR. And again, how do we promote it more for the individual? So you'll see a reorganization coming and some new and improved approaches for the PRISM Institute.
Okay, great. And there was one slide that you put up there that had the numbers of folks that were going through the various certifications worldwide. And you know the number for ITIL Foundations off the charts for 200-something thousand in 2011 compared to all the other ones that are kind of a fraction of that. Do you have any? Is there any estimate from the PRISM Institute of what the kind of the global volume would be for folks seeking their PRISM credentials going forward on a monthly basis?
Well, we don't really have the stats out on that right now on a monthly basis. I can tell you that much like the adoption of things like service management and ITIL and COVID, we have a very strong presence. It really started in the UK. It came over to the Americas, and now we're seeing I'll call it a startup in the Asia community. So the original route of PRISM, we divided the globe up into those three sections. And Asia is certainly a huge startup. We're going to see those foundation numbers growing dramatically there. The U.S. seems to have a steady uphill in our certifications and with the PRISM credentials. I don't have numbers right in front, but that is something that we'll try to put together for hopefully a future presentation.
Excellent. Okay, well, so again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have any additional questions, please send them off to us or contact Kathy directly. And just a reminder for everyone, we're taking next Tuesday off, but we'll be back on Tuesday, March 26th, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another session from the Pete Talks group of presentations hosted by Pete McGarrahan. And that session is delivering ROI by taking focused action from a process gap analysis. And to be joined by Jim Bolton, who is the president of ProPoint Solutions. So marking your calendars, or if it's of interest to another colleague that's inside the organization, you might want to forward that invite off. And hopefully we'll see you then. Enjoy the week in between. And Kathy, we thank you very much again for coming back to us, and we hope to hear from you again.
Okay, thank you very much.